Welcome to the first recording for the DAO345 Foundation Business Design Competition for biology-inspired models. I am going to talk to you today about what is DAO345, why did we create this Cayman Islands Foundation company to act as a mothership, what do we intend to do with it, and also what is the business design competition, what is the schedule of the events, how we got a little bit of a delay on the website and everything else, but we did have our kickoff party at the Infinita pop-up city in the Duna Tower on the island of Roatan, and we are going to have an event as well live at Ipe City as part of the DSI Days. So stay tuned here with us, and we're looking for partnerships, collaborations, people interested in the evolution of organizations generally, people interested in the evolution of DAO space, and in the collaboration in between countries, right? It's like we want the people who are able to collaborate with us, participate in this, and then have some fun doing it as well. So stay tuned and listen to what is happening here, because it's going to be very, very interesting. 13 December 2024, we had a live event as part of DAO December where we pitched for the first time the idea of DAO legal animals in the Cayman Islands and the concept of DAO345 Foundation. A previous pitch has happened at the Legal Engineering Summit in April 2024 on the island of Roatan, but it wasn't quite in the same format, so I'm not going to go that far back in time, and I'm just going to pitch our thinking at this moment. Traditionally, we started from the idea that traditionally only big corporations had multi-jurisdictional presence, so they could be seen to look like you could see on the screen, some tight containers, some equity ties, contractual relationships between them, but this is actually changing now. With the advent of the AI agents and the metaverse, human potentials for creativity and economic growth will increase exponentially. We're already seeing this happening, and traditional geographical boundaries will disappear. So reality is actually becoming a bit more fluid and a bit more colorful, at least in the digital space. So the first sign that this is actually happening are DAOs, decentralized autonomous organizations, and the legal systems will need to adapt. So currently, we've created this sort of makeshift structures, we're reinventing some of the new structures. Some countries have designed bespoke systems, but we're still kind of figuring things out and experimenting with this. So what does DAO stand for? DAO stands for decentralized, so not one center of command and control, but polycentric governance in multiple jurisdictions. Autonomous, it holds shape without humans, right? It's like either by way of smart contracts and or implementation with AI agents. And then O stands for organization, so it behaves as a multicellular organism. This is very important because this is where we got our ideas. It's like, no, actually, these are artificial life forms. So this is personally why I view DAOs as legal animals. They are new, they cross borders. The speed of the forming and reforming of contractual relationships between DAO participants far exceeds the capacity of traditional legal frameworks right now. So we need a new way to apprehend this new thing that's emerging. So this started with an intuition I had, and then we did a Pythagora workshop at the Vitalia last year. So last year's pop-up city in January 2024. Lawyers came together with scientists to discuss DAOs. We had some preliminary insights and findings, and then I had an opportunity to present this at the Denver, which further crystallized my thoughts on this. So you can see here a couple of the slides, a few of the participants that we had during the Pythagora workshop. In Pythagora workshop, it's simply a new model. Learn, teach, create. It's something that I'm using in all my organizations and in all my businesses. Each of us has a piece of the puzzle. When we came together, especially if we come from various different backgrounds with different skill sets and different expertise, well, what emerges is greater than what the pieces we are putting together, right? It's like something new is actually growing from that. The conclusion we reached is that Web3 is filled with innovation. I call it like Web3 is a mass of life cultures, a great experiment in the evolution of corporate and social organizations. But without a good design and some solid structures, a lot of the potential is actually being wasted. So we also arrived at the conclusion, like several conclusions. First of all, was that DAOs are very different animals. So one of our scientists in the group, Maria Goretti Freitas, actually suggested that we should create a taxonomy of DAOs, which made total sense to me at the time. And we're just starting to understand the patterns of these human aggregation models, right? Biologists have been studying animal aggregation models for a long time with applications in various fields. But we're just now starting to sort of like understand the patterns of human aggregation models. It's very interesting that the acceleration in the technology and the ability to do things together in a novel way is actually pushing us deeper into the understanding of the human interactions and interconnectedness, right? We also need to address novel risks. So part of the study, the deep dive into DAOs that I did in 2023 was about, hey, let me look at like risk management from the perspective of decentralized organizations, and can we actually make this work? If we can embed risk management in the mechanisms we are designing for the DAOs, then we can win on the implementation. And not only that, but we can actually win by exporting this to traditional organizations, because they cannot do implementation well either, right? So if we solve it for DAOs, we can just export it to everyone. And then the fourth conclusion was that legal wrappers are inadequate. So you see my sort of like cartoon there in terms of like, it's kind of like a cat wrapped up in something. It's not quite, we're not quite there yet. There's still a lot of work to do. So as I mentioned before, in April, we had the Safe Harbor and Legal Engineering Summit and further conversations. And they pitched the idea of using the Cayman Foundation Company as a mothership with a Hunter-Seeker LLC fleet underneath. My idea is that we can have this as building blocks, circles of expertise, and then a laboratory and an incubator. So I realized that DAOs are most like blockchain automata. So an exoskeleton built on blockchain, maintained by AI agents, and then powered by humans, like the strand beasts of Theo Jansen on the beach, like the beach animals, are actually powered by the wind. So the solution I was thinking about is, which is actually being implemented right now with the DAO345 Foundation, is that to boost and manifest the DAO potential, a sandbox approach is better to test legal containers and governance mechanisms in a safe environment. So there are several components there. Online education is one of them. Web3 communities providing specialized training in personal agency and integration, Web3 collaboration tools, and then specialized DAO roles and certifications. Web3 innovators having completed the online education experience are then supported to launch into sub-DAOs and or LLC vehicles to work on specific missions. Grants management aspect, the DAO345 can assist partner DAOs with their grants management for beneficiaries that have completed or are part of the online education certifications. Risk and governance can be covered there. DAO345 will roll out a decentralized risk management framework based on the best practices of enterprise risk management, which is something I had to learn, right? As a lawyer and also as part of my chartered governance qualifications to stand on a board of directors. And then this can be tailored for DAOs and Web3 projects. In summary, right, we need to experiment with both the exoskeleton design and with more organic human aggregation models. And I thought that impact and regenerative projects are the most likely to actually collaborate and cooperate with the researchers and collaborate with the decentralized science movement. DAO345, like this is now live, it's incorporated, a marine life laboratory for DAOs. Come join us. You may know offshore entities have been used by traditional financial markets for decades, investment funds, asset managers, securitization, bankruptcy, remote vehicles. This allowed for wealth accumulation and tax optimization and enabled the international monetary flows, which are supporting the current economy. As a result, jurisdictions such as the Cayman Islands and the British Virgin Islands are home to many companies, including many listed on stock exchanges, because they are not adding an extra tax layer and they're transferring information to onshore tax authorities, offshore can actually be transparent and compliant at the same time. It can be passed through. The Cayman Islands Foundation company structure is a hybrid between a trust and a corporation. It's been created in 2017 as a versatile legal container to be fully customized by the client with respect to corporate governance and decision-making. So in 2020, we already started seeing the first foundation companies being used for DAOs because there are several reasons, several benefits to that. First of all, the wealth generated by the growth of the worldwide community will not be captured and taxed by a single country, and instead will accrue for the benefit of the entire project and community. An independent board of directors in the Cayman Islands can be appointed, which can provide professional oversight and guidance. The foundation can be designed to be an orphan structure without beneficial owners and distributions for profits, and structured to function as close to purpose as possible. So you can see it here. It's a bit of a cross between a jellyfish and something else here. And one or several subsidiaries can be established to operate as businesses, and then the Cayman Foundation can contract with service providers worldwide. So these are some of the reasons why Cayman Foundation companies have become so popular. Other common features and benefits of the Cayman Foundation. So you still have the limited legal liability and separate legal personality from members, directors, and officers. It's going to be managed by a board of directors. It will have the same standard of care of duties as regular companies, the same requirements as any other company as to books and records, corporate registers, filings, etc. And at the same time, you get a few key distinctions which make foundation companies a little bit more special. So the founders can reserve themselves very important powers, so you always need to check for that. Certain provisions and limitations can be set in stone so that the board of directors has no authority to change them. The foundation company must have a secretary, and that secretary is actually a regulated entity by the Cayman Islands Monetary Authority, CIMA. One or more supervisors are needed if the foundation company has no members. So orphan structure needs supervisors. It's similar to how a trust needs a trustee, right? Because like someone needs to actually supervise and see what's going on. Amendments to its memorandum and articles of association can only be made if this is expressly allowed. So again, check for that. A foundation company cannot pay dividends. A foundation company cannot accept an asset contribution unless its secretary gives a notice of no objection under the Cayman Islands Proceeds of Crime Act, the Terrorist Act, and the Anti-Money Laundering Regulation. So there is a bit of a protection built in from a regulatory perspective so that these vehicles cannot be hijacked and used for bad purposes, but generally it's very flexible, very customizable structure. And then bylaws are typically used to tie the workings of the foundation company structure within the DAO consensus mechanism. So I try to give you a bit of a visual here. As you can see on the screen, DAO remains free-floating open cybernetic entity based on consensus, but then you have these entities that are kind of attached to it, which can be Cayman Foundation in this case, linked to DAO votes, with a board of directors, a supervisor, and a secretary. We can have service providers, right? Other legal entities that are connected via contracts. And then you can have subsidiaries, which are kind of the working vehicles, like the operational vehicles. And then often this will happen, right? Either because we need to do token issuance and we can't do that from the Cayman Islands if it's meant to be a public token issuance with the public sale of tokens, managing operations or carrying out other business. These subsidiaries can be anywhere, right? It can be anywhere where the foundation company, where the DAO, it like decides to set up operation, depending on operations and goals and what's going on. And this allows for the DAO consensus mechanism and the corporate governance protections to still be applicable because they trickle down from the group level, and like activities are managed separately and more effectively, because this is one of the common problems that DAOs have, that like everybody thinks that governance is actually decision making. It's not. Governance is actually deciding and then implementing, getting things done. So that second part is often lacking for many projects. Okay, so now that we launched the DAO345 Foundation, what we did, we opened up as our sort of like kickoff party, we opened up a biology-inspired aggregation models for DAOs business design competition. which we will sponsor. We have a prize of $1,500 in USDC, and other organizations have been invited to match funding. So we had a launch party in the Spirit Animal coffee shop in Duna on March 12th. And then we explained exactly what you saw today in this video about the DAO345 Foundation, where the idea for animal aggregation models came from, our mission to support the evolution of organizations, etc. And then there are 2 online events that are scheduled for, at the date of this recording, they haven't yet taken place, but they will be posted as well on the same YouTube channel, right? March 22 online event, Fish School Models and Gun Fishing Strategy for DAO, and March 27 online event, Coral Reefs and Patterns of Aggregation, how can we build an ecosystem that is self-maintaining and self-propagating? So that's what we had scheduled. And then in the announcement, we had planned that the competition window is from, the March 12th, when we announced it, until the April 17th. Now we may actually extend that because we had some delays in launching our website. And then we want to give participants a little bit more time to do their research. So the idea behind the competition is that participants will propose decentralized autonomous organizations models inspired by biological systems, particularly those observed in marine environments. The idea is to enhance resilience, scalability, and cooperation in digital governance structures. So we want to encourage collaboration between biologists, blockchain developers, business people, right, to create cutting-edge DAO solutions. And then we want to present the findings. Everything would be open source, and we want to present the findings as a collaborative thing, and then be able to support these projects, and maybe we'll find more resources for them. The submission should include, and the projects will be judged based on the following criteria. So concept overview. We need an explanation of the biological inspiration and its relevance for DAO design. Technical integration. So this doesn't need to be built, but we want at least an explanation about how smart contracts, blockchain, and AI agents can actually be used. Scalability and resilience. So we want people to consider the issue of scalability of these projects and how can we make them a little bit more resilient. So what are some good mechanisms to maintain DAO adaptability and growth? Use cases and impact. So this is the 4th criteria. Use case and impact, real world applications, potential benefits. And then last, feasibility analysis, an assessment of the practical implementation. Like what would be the resources needed to implement, like how feasible is this, how much would it cost, if there are any volunteers ready to build this, etc. We are looking for judges also. And then we are most flexible with respect to teams. Ideally, we would want teams between 2 and 5 people from at least 2 different areas of activities. So like, for example, biology or business, like blockchain or business or AI or something. And then submissions, we would want the submissions to be a brief paper, just a few pages, and then ideally also a recorded presentation explaining the paper. And then all work must be open source and freely available for further research and development. And we will share the GitHub link so that you can actually connect there and like create their a folder. Right. I think this is all, guys, for now, at least for today. Thank you so much for viewing this.